Good evening, viewers, and welcome to our weekly menu, Energy This Week. I'm Ademola Adedoyin.
One day, we had a vision to improve the way people access their fuel products. Now, 1 in 5 cars drives on our fuel. But that was not enough. So we pioneered the provision of cleaner, safer fuel to local industries through the fastest growing gas supply network in sub-Saharan Africa. Still, that was not enough. So we invested in the acquisition of rigs for oil and gas exploration. Strive towards our future when we, a proudly Nigerian company, will offer the complete solution to Nigeria's energy needs. Oando, the future is here.
Tonight, we bring to you the managing director of a trailblazing corporate concern, the man who has been driving the pioneering efforts of a leading indigenous company in the provision of infrastructure for distribution of natural gas to industrial and commercial consumers. But before then, let's serve you the news of the week.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to News of the Week. My name is Perpetua Ebunluwa Ohacho. First, the headlines. Government's order on stable power supply remains irreversible. NEBO. NNPC to spend 800 million naira on repair of ruptured gas pipelines. Federal government to begin new measurement policy in oil sector. Now the details. The Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nebo, has said a 6-month nationwide power supply stability order issued by President Goodluck Jonathan a fortnight ago to managers of the country's electricity system will not be changed for whatever reasons. Nebo said in a statement in Abuja that nothing would be left undone in meeting up with the President's desire to ensure adequate electricity supply to all Nigerians. He added that the government has gone ahead to complement its efforts in improving on-grid power generation with the initiation of off-grid power supply sources within the Operation Light Up Rural Nigeria program of the ministry. While admitting that there is still more to be done to meet up with its expectation, the minister assured Nigerians of continued improved electricity supply until government's aspirations for constant power eventually come to reality. He said government's immediate goal was for those already getting 12 hours of electricity supply to move up to 14 hours, others with 14 to enjoy between 16 and 18, while major cities like Lagos and Abuja will get between 22 and 23 hours supply daily. The minister informed that the target will be achieved within a few months' time, adding that the ultimate goal was for Nigerians to get 24 hours of daily power supply. He noted that though the plan would still take some time, it should be realized, with the foundation already laid by government for increased generation and enhanced transmission and distribution of generated power across the country. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) disclosed that it would commit about 800 million naira of its funds to offset the cost of repairing ruptured points on about 110 kilometers of its pipelines that convey gas and crude oil condensates. While briefing journalists on the status of gas supply to Nigeria's power sector vis-a-vis the effects of vandalism on crucial pipeline networks that transport gas to existing thermal power plants in the country, the corporation stated that about 480 metric million standard cubic feet of gas supply per day, which is equivalent to 1,600 megawatts of power, was currently lost to acts of vandalism on these pipelines. The Group Managing Director, GMD of NNPC, Andrew Yakubu, told journalists in Abuja that majority of the gas supply shortfalls were traceable to the Escravel Soriel PSA pipeline, which leases about 190 metric million standard cubic feet per day, and Transforcado's crude pipeline losing 230 metric million cubic feet per day. Both pipelines are approximately 60 kilometers and 50 kilometers long, respectively. He noted that the remaining supply shortfall was due to maintenance issues at Utorogu gas plant, and that contributes to a loss of 60 metric million cubic feet per day. Also, for Escravel's Zoriel PSA pipeline, Yakubu explained that about 20 different ruptured points were discovered with various magnitudes of damages, adding that ongoing repair works on the pipelines were due for completion. Flanked by the corporation's Group Executive Director, Gas and Power, Dr. David Ige, amongst others, Yakubu added that when the initial assessment was done before they realized that there were many other points, the assessment was pegged at about 200 million naira for the interventions. The federal government says it will commence full implementation of Weights and Measures Act on measuring instruments used in oil and gas sector of the economy February 1, 2014. The Director of Rates and Measures of the Ministry of Trade and Investment, Engineer Oluyinka Joseph Shikwade, stated this during a technical meeting between the ministry officials, NNL, the consultants to the Ministry on Rates and Measures, and members of the Oil Producing Trade Section, OPTS, at the ministry headquarters in Abuja. Engineer Shikwade said that henceforth calibrators and testing laboratories in Nigeria must first obtain certificates from the Rates and Measures before calibration certificates issued by them can be recognized. Said that the interest of OPTS is paramount to government and urged them to strictly patronize only those calibrators who had obtained the department certification for calibration of their instruments. The director added that measuring instruments used for trade in this sector must be within the maximum permissible error margin the law recognizes. That's all for News of the Week. Thanks for watching. I am Perpetua Ebonluwa Ohacho. Join us again next week.
Welcome back. Oando Gas and Power PLC is the developer of Nigeria's foremost natural gas distribution network and captive power solution. 14 years ago, it pioneered the private sector piping and distribution of natural gas to industrial and commercial consumers, thereby successfully kicking off the private sector participation in the gas distribution business in Nigeria. This subsidiary of Oando PLC says its ultimate goal is to build Sub-Saharan Africa's largest gas pipeline network. How does it hope to achieve this? What has it done so far? How extensive is its pipeline network thus far? What has this company done in the power sector? What are the plans ahead? To provide answers to all these posters is the man in charge of affairs in the company, the Managing Director, CEO. Viewers, join us in welcoming Mr. Bolaji Osunsanya, the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Oando Gas and Power PLC. Mr. Osunsanya, you are welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. Now, let's go straight to business. Let's start with the most recent development in Oando Gas and Power PLC. Last week, you signed an agreement with OSF Limited to extend your grid from Ijora to Marina. Now, what exactly do you aim at with this agreement, with this contract?
Well, the recent contract is just a natural extension of what we began 14 years ago. The idea was to develop the Greater Lagos area in phases. We've done that for the industrial clusters in Lagos. So we've done it in Ikeja, we've done it in Apapa, Isolo, and all the other industrial clusters. But of recent, we've also seen an emergent cluster in the Ijora Marina axis. And we thought we should naturally extend the gas advantage to this cluster. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks so much. Going through Oando Gas and Power mission statement, it is obvious your target is to build Sub-Saharan Africa's largest gas pipeline network. How far have you gone with this ambition?
That ambition, audacious as it sounds, it's still on track. We've so far built well over 240 kilometers of pipeline in our 14-year history. But we think with the right resources, with the right background, support, it should be easy to build out all the grid in Sub-Saharan Africa. If we take the example of Nigeria, Nigeria requires well over 10,000 kilometers of pipeline for it to be saturated. We've built 240 in our small history. Nigeria together has built under 2,000. So it tells you what is possible. There's ample space for companies like ourselves and others to quickly get into the game and build out this grid as quickly as possible. So we're living to the ambition, we're living to the aspiration, and we hope we'll get there.
Okay, and what are the challenges along the line?
The challenges are many, but they are not unsurmountable. The first is the resource itself. We need to find the molecules. We need to put in place enough incentive for the owners of the resources to be incentivized to bring them to fore. I think significant progress was made when we adjusted the gas pricing regulation, and owners of resources started to see the possibility of getting as much as $2, $3 per 1,000 standard cubic feet of production. I think that has incentivized some, and there's certainly more that we can do to not only incentivize those who bring out the resource, but also incentivize those who create the infrastructure to take them to markets.
GasLink currently distributes about 40 million scoff to over 150 consumers around Lagos, and you have capacity. GasLink has about 85 million scoff capacity. What are you doing to expand on your consumer base?
We're doing a lot. First is to create the robustness within the infrastructure. So right now, in conjunction with the Nigerian gas company, who are primary suppliers, we're trying to expand the capacity of the city gate to be able to do more than the nameplate capacities. So with the recent adjustments that we've done with them, we see ourselves being able to supply close to 100 million scoff per day to the zone. On the customer offtake side, we're aggressively cutting new suppliers or new consumers to take up the capacity. I just mentioned the Jora Lagos Island extension. We're hoping that a third of that capacity will be sold into that segment. So we're doing both. We're laying new pipelines to expand the grid. We're debottlenecking the offtake point at the city gate, aggressively going out there to canvass new customers to take up what the new capacities are.
Oando Gas and Power pioneered this arm of business, that is distributing natural gas to consumers. What has the experience been like servicing these consumers?
Well, first we feel a sense of elation that we were able to rise up to the challenge. Since we were able to supply gas to industrial consumers, we've seen significant cost savings in their cost structure. We pride ourselves that we've created a cost advantage that allows them almost 50% discount in what would otherwise have been their energy costs. So we are very excited that we're able to contribute our own small quota to industrialization and to production within the manufacturing sector. We're also excited that in all of that, we're creating new pockets of power contribution that hitherto wasn't there. People are now beginning to do their self-generation utilizing gas. That brings both the cost advantage, the environmental friendliness, the clean fuel, all of those value propositions that gas promises. So we're extremely excited about that. But to put on record that we're not the only ones doing this, to put on record that Shell Nigeria Gas is currently doing exactly the same in the Agbara area. We have newcomers like Falcon Petroleum trying to do their bits in the Korodu area, and we have a few others. I think the point to make is that we will aggressively grow. We're encouraging others to do the same. The ultimate beneficiaries should be Nigerians and manufacturing companies who now have an advantage and an opportunity to reduce their costs as they increase production.
Last December, Oando announced the sale of the entire share capital of East Horizon Gas Company to another company, Seven Energy International Gas Company. What informed this business decision?
I think to answer that correctly, we'll need to go back to the background of why we built the pipeline initially. About 3 years ago, we had intervened by building the network to be able to connect the United Cement Company of Nigeria to gas that was already available in the Port Harcourt-Alscon line. It was important that we did this because the cement company was already challenged with its own development, and the owners of the Obigbo line were not incentivized to bring the pipeline there. So it was a unique opportunity that we filled at the time. But since we did that, a lot also started to happen in the zone. Seven Energy International also had their own E&P assets in that zone, built their own CPF, and were looking for ways to move their molecules to market. So it was a strict coincidence. We were looking for gas to complement supplies to Unisem. Unisem was looking for more gas to get going on their Stream 2 investments, and Seven Energy was certainly looking for how to get gas to market quickly. So we all came together and structured a deal. That deal will see Seven Energy buying all the shares of East Horizon and therefore taking over the responsibilities that we've done before. The idea for us is to be able to free capital to do more within the space. We have significant projects that we're maturing right now. The first is that, as you know, we are awardees of the Central Processing Facility with NAOC and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. We'll be happy to redirect such freed capital into ventures like that. You would also be aware that we're pioneering the compressed natural gas sales and production in Lagos. We'll be happy to do phase 2 and 3 developments of that. We're also looking at the Extrabus Ibadan Ilorin Jeba pipeline, which is a 400-kilometer pipeline. That we're developing right now. We would also be happy to free resources to start to get on with those developments. I think at the end of the day, it's really about capital mobility, and we'll be looking to getting on to more impactful developmental projects.
So in essence, it has afforded you some more liquidity to be able to
reinvest in more impactful opportunities, is the way we say it.
Now, last year, your company also completed work on the 10.4 megawatt of Alausa IPP. What are the other IPP projects you've taken up in recent years? And what is the capacity of your company when we look at the power projects?
Well, the captive IPP program for us is a demonstration program, just to demonstrate to our gas companies or gas buyers what is possible with the gas that we supply. We've created 2 so far. We first of all did the Akute power plant for the Lagos State Water Corporation. We're pleased that since we put that about 4 years ago, Lagos State Water has been in their intakes, has had 24-hour service, uninterrupted service since we started. We've only recently completed the Alausa power plants, and therefore the Lagos State campus, Secretariat campus, is served now 24 hours by that captive power plant. First, to demonstrate that it is possible to use natural gas to generate self-power. Second, to contribute and relieve the already pressured district power by releasing some supplies on a captive power basis. Since we started to do Akute and Alausa, that certainly is 25 new megawatts that the PHCN distribution zones in those areas can at least put back into the grid and serve customers who are currently starved. So that's the way we see it. We would continue that captive development, but we'll be very selective how we pick those projects. But certainly it will be driven by the fact that we have gas that we can take to market, and that we have bilateral counterparties that can pay on a long-term basis. But for us, it will be more to demonstrate the capability of our resource. Yeah,
given your pioneering role in power and what you have done, didn't Oando participate in trying to secure a foothold on Genco and Discos when they were offered for sale?
Oh, we did. We actually put in a bid for 3 distribution zones with world-class partners. I think for the most part we had Tata of India and Net Group of South Africa behind us. We put in a world-class partnership to participate in the distribution zones, but we weren't successful because we weren't as aggressive in terms of losses as stipulated by the process. We just couldn't do as much as our competitors thought they could cut losses, and therefore we've had to redirect our strategies, and we'll be looking at other ways of still playing in that sector outside the process that has already been concluded.
Oh, okay, thank you. We want to tell the viewers at home some of the power projects that you currently are embarking upon.
Well, we have quite a number under developments. Readily, we have about 60 megawatts that we're looking at. Some in faraway River State, some in Lagos that we're doing for the big transport institutions. I like to keep it at that for now because there are still developments, ongoing developments.
Now, a critical issue in investing in gas infrastructure is the question of gas pricing. How will you describe the current gas pricing and how attractive it is to investors?
I think on gas pricing, we've moved quite a bit. If there's any positive or commendable fallout from the Nigerian Gas Master Plan, is the fact that it has tried to settle the gas pricing regulation in Nigeria. Two critical parts of that. First, I think by being bold and moving upstream prices from about $2 to anywhere around $3 was a significant step. Secondly, also moving the domestic prices significantly, particularly for commercial and industrial users, was also a good step. We think there's more to do because, as you know, it's full deregulation we're pursuing. It's import parity prices that we're pursuing, and I think we're already on our way there. We will enjoin the government and the ministry to rethink the reward for those who are providing infrastructure, because I think the short end now, or the area of most resistance now, is in creating the infrastructure that actually takes the resource. So we need to incentivize the transporters, we need to incentivize the processors and the last mile distributors in a manner that you make them whole and they'll be incentivized to do even more.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So when you look at the Gas Master Plan and all these factors you have taken into consideration here, then you're looking at the Petroleum Industry Bill. What are the basic things you like to see to encourage those who are putting infrastructure in place for gas to be able to play when PIB is eventually passed into law?
I think first is to factor what the necessary investments into the pricing, so there's a reason to do it in the first instance. Second is to work with providers of infrastructure to lighten the burden. The trouble that we go through trying to get access, permission to operate, and access to rights of way is demoralizing, really. You want to be sure that even when you mobilize capital, you would have easy access to operate, easy access to develop this, and all the community and regulatory interferences should be dealt with by governments. We should have freedom to operate such that life is easier. Capital is another point. Infrastructure projects are by their nature capital intensive. We need credit enhancements that make us easily access long-term capital. Unfortunately, the domestic long-term capital is insufficient for what we are trying to embark on. So we need credit enhancements like partial risk guarantees, government or sovereign guarantees that would at least help us access capital even externally. We need to put this in the structure of deals such that we can attract capital from outside Nigeria.
Your company actually pioneered private sector participation in piping natural gas to consumers. What has it been in respect of competition?
Well, I'd given the background that there's so much to do in the space. There are too many more infrastructure to put in place. That's the more the merrier. Having said that, there are already participants in the space. In the distribution zone, I talked about Shell Nigeria Gas, I talked about Falcon. In the applied technologies, there are a few people who are also trying to do compressed natural gas in Nigeria, NIPCO, Green Fuels, and a few others. In the captive power space, very many people are trying to do things. The industries themselves are producing quite a huge amount of power themselves. The manufacturing companies that we support are doing a lot of self-generation. And there are companies also trying to do IPPs in the commercial sense. So there's room. There are players, but there's room for more. And in our own case, we will be growing very aggressively too, such that we can cover the landscape as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Lastly, Mr. Osunsanya, what does the future hold for Oando Gas and Power PLC in gas distribution and power generation?
Well, we've in the last 14 years done quite a bit in gas distribution. We're beginning to create a portfolio of assets. We're also going to begin our movement upstream in the gas space. I'd hinted that we've started to go into processing. We would ultimately get into exploitation of gas resources ourselves. So we're working ourselves from the last mile, from the customers that we already have, through the distribution, through transport, through processing, and all the way back to the fields themselves. We put ourselves forward as the biggest arranger of gas resources in the continent in the next, in the long term. And that's the aspiration we're pursuing, and that, God willing, we'll see through.
Okay, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
One day, we had a vision to improve the way people access their fuel products. Now, 1 in 5 cars drives on our fuel. But that was not enough. So we pioneered the provision of cleaner, safer fuel to local industries through the fastest growing gas supply network in sub-Saharan Africa. Still, that was not enough. So we invested in the acquisition of rigs for oil and gas exploration. Strive towards our future when we, a proudly Nigerian company, will offer the complete solution to Nigeria's energy needs. Oando, the future is here.
Viewers, that is Oando Gas and Power PLC's performance report card, as prepared and presented by the man who is most qualified for the task. For your views and comments, reach us on info@energythisweek.tv. To follow up on this edition, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/energythisweek. Till I come your way next week, I remain yours sincerely, Ademola Adedoyin. Bye for now.